Yes. Well, kinda, maybe. I don't really... Okay, here. How's this? yAkUzA 3 was a game that was released at some point in history, and with its release, it generally marks the 4th game in the franchise. Yeah, there was one in Japan, but we don't talk about that one. But that still doesn't change that yAkUzA 3 was one of the first games that released on the PS3 in the yAkUzA franchise, and because of it, ooh, it has some holdovers from the PS2 era for sure. Like, what the fuck was that? Now, a lot of people, whenever they talk about yAkUzA 3 being total ass, they don't mean the story. Usually. The story in the game is actually pretty fire, at least in my opinion anyway. It's the only time we see Kiryu cry! Except for that one time in Gaiden. No, wait, that's Joryu. What about that time in Lost Judgment? Oh wait, no, that's Yagami. Yeah. Only time that we've seen him cry. Regardless, because of that, people don't usually say that yAkUzA 3 is a shit game, except for one specific mechanic. Yeah, so yAkUzA 3's combat isn't very good. It's just not. Now with this revelation, I know I just had some neuron activation moments for a lot of people, but with this revelation, it's pretty clear to see why a lot of people tend to either skip the game, watch the cutscenes on YouTube, or just not. But as someone who's currently trying to 100% every single yAkUzA game, dear God help me, I'm here to tell you that the combat is pretty shit, but it's not as bad as people make it out to be. In a lot of other yAkUzA games, you know, Zero, Kiwami, which is just 0, 2, Kiwami 2.
What sound does shampoo make?
No. This is
Depends,
entrapment.
Full or is it?
This is entrapment.
It's just 6, 2, even 4.
I love him. He's so cool.
Which 4 actually fixed a lot of the issues that 3 has, but even in 4, you can kind of just like spam the same thing over and over and over again, and you'll win every combat necessarily. So, a lot of people go into yAkUzA 3 thinking this exact same thing. This is even more apparent if they come from 0, Kiwami 1, and Kiwami 2, where if you did the exact same thing over and over and over again, you just basically won every fight, even in Legend difficulty. Even in Legend, I didn't feel much of a challenge in a lot of the combats in those games. But in yAkUzA 3, oh man, you feel it. So, I have devised a revolutionary idea for how to deal with the yAkUzA combat in yAkUzA 3. And you can see it within this clip.
Good lord. What are you doing?
Not hitting the enemies immediately.
Yeah, so when it comes to actually fighting, don't spam. Because if you spam, it'll take 15 centuries to get anything done. And if you don't spam, A, more fun, and B, you can actually like move around the enemies and hit them in their backs. You can give them back shots. It turns battles from a debilitating slog into an actually fun experience. And I think a lot of people, whenever they come in from yAkUzA Kiwami and Kiwami 2 and whatever, when they go to yAkUzA 3, they're like, because the combat is directly based off of the PS2 games, minus the blocking. You know, there's a reason why they call the game yAkUzA 3, and that's mostly because the enemies block constantly, which is why whenever they attack, just quick step around them, boom. They're not gonna block their backs. They're not gonna reach around and block their backs, except for sometimes they do. Yeah, so this method isn't necessarily always going to work with bosses. Name among them, Lao Ka Long. Whenever I first recorded the footage for this, I was in Chapter 8. And firstly, just a small side tangent. What the fuck is going on with the pacing in yAkUzA 3, dude? Like, in yAkUzA 3, you have an entire chapter dedicated to a long battle, which is just Chapter 8. And then chapter 9, I think, is also another long battle. And then chapter 10 is like obscenely long with a bunch of different story beats going on and like a bunch of different backtracking and moving around the map. Like, what the fuck is the difference between the pacing in chapter 8 and chapter 10? Why did they decide to make one long battle all of chapter 8? It blows my mind. Weird ass pacing aside, something else that I noticed was the fact that originally I thought that you could not infinite combo in any of the boss fights, especially with Lao Ka Long and the fact that he kind of just does like the Komaki tumble or whatever the fuck it's called and immediately gets up. But as I found out with the fight just before Lao Ka Long, you absolutely can do infinite combos with just a single light attack, heavy attack, heavy attack. You can do a really easy infinite combo, and it's the most hilarious and bizarre thing I've ever seen. I love it. It's so good.
You could also just like stun lock them. That is also a possibility. I didn't realize you could stun lock them. This is so dumb. Dude, you can literally just stun lock them. That's so funny.
But does that mean, just because the combat is fucking cancer, does that mean that you should not play the game? Fuck no. Especially after I've just told you that quick stepping literally is how you solve your problems. Go play the fucking game, man. Legit, I do not exaggerate when I say that yAkUzA 3, one of my favorite yAkUzA games just for the story. The story is good and funny and interesting, and I like seeing a more like, you know, familial and subdued side of Kiryu. It's really nice compared to fucking old angry face in Kiwami 1 and then in Kiwami 2. I'm not saying that either of those are bad, but I'm just saying I like seeing Kiryu be a father, you know? I like him being dad mode. That's nice. That's wholesome to me. So, go play yAkUzA 3 for fucking sure, dude. Also, Ryukyu, amazing like little area. It feels so different from everything else. So, even just for like the atmosphere itself, go play it for that. Also, another reason to play yAkUzA 3, you can do this.
Excuse me.
Seriously!
Isn't that great? Hey, so turns out Kiwami 3 got leaked, and the time that I'm editing this video, it's probably going to be officially announced in the next RGG Summit. So I recorded this when I didn't know that Kiwami 3 was going to be legit. So take everything I say with a grain of salt, especially since in about 4 hours, everything's going to be revealed about what Kiwami 3 is actually going to be like. Now, I want to address one more thing before I kind of close things out. People arguing that we need a yAkUzA Kiwami 3. Yes. If for no other reason than to just give a better experience overall, we 100% not need, but would like a Kiwami 3. I know that certain people disagree. I'm gonna step on a couple toes here. suh-vel-E and his wonderful videos on yAkUzA 1 and yAkUzA 2, and also Kiwami 1 and Kiwami 2 respectively, in his retrospectives, he says that Kiwami 3 is really, or he implies anyway, that Kiwami 3 is a really fucking stupid idea, and I challenge him by saying, no, it really isn't, man. It's really not. And do you know why I think it's not that stupid? Because Ishin Kiwami exists. Like a Dragon Ishin is a game that released in, what, like 2022 or something like that? And it was a remake of Ryoga Gotoku. I know I mispronounced that. Ishin. From fucking, like, 2013? However, whenever it came to them wanting to port it, they used Unreal Engine 5 and just put it on new consoles with upgraded graphics and new translations and a bunch of crazy stuff that I'm not really sure what all they did, but I know that they changed a lot of shit and they fixed a lot of shit and did balancing changes and good shit like that. Also, the game looks fucking amazing. Like, the game uses the Zero engine and the Kiwami engine and whatever, but it just has Unreal Engine 5's graphics onto it. and like they recreated the whole system of combat from those games into Unreal Engine 5, which firstly, impressive as shit, because I know they use their own proprietary engine, I think, whenever making those old games. And also second, this is a perfect like way that we could get a Kiwami 3. Genuinely. If you want to have the graphics of the Dragon Engine games while having the gameplay and the story and the everything else and not having to do new animations or whatever the fuck for yAkUzA 3, just put it in the same shit that you did Ishin. Just do that again. Because that's a really good way to easily remaster a game where you can fix a bunch of the shit with the combat, make everything look fantastic, and also give people a much easier experience, a much better experience playing, honestly, a pretty fucking good story. Like, genuinely. So, and obviously, I'm gonna say this, suh-vel-E did not have the foresight to really predict that Ishin Kiwami would be a thing. I don't think anybody could have predicted it happening. But the fact that it did just proves that it's possible. It's possible for yAkUzA Kiwami 3 to exist and not be a complete flanderization of the original game. It can be faithful while also not being blockuza 3, you know? I really do think with Ishin Kiwami's existence, we have a genuine conversation about Kiwami-ifying the other older games. I know that a lot of people are also talking about Kenzan and they want that to be Kiwami-fied. And I agree, 100%. Looking at English guides while playing a Japanese game fucking sucks, dude. It's not a good way to play a game. But making it a Kiwami would fix that entire problem, as well as giving people a look into the game without having weird emulation issues or not enough hardware to play the game, or having to own a Japanese PS3 and learning Japanese, which, I mean, at that point you might as well just wait for a Kenzan remaster, because no. But because of Ishin Kiwami, we can have yAkUzA Kiwami 3, and arguably for not that much more, which is fantastic. And I would really like love to see that happen, to see a faithful remake of the game in like Unreal Engine 5, where a lot of the combat is fixed and we still have goofy shit like this.
Aru. Okay, got it. No. There's no change in the plan. Bye.
Please, for the love of God, RGG, keep Mine talking in English. It's so funny. Hey, check it out. Look who was fucking wrong. I love being late.